Welcome to the channel, beautiful beloved souls. My name is Gemstone and I'm a psychic medium. And on this channel, you will find I look at anything to do with life and death through a lens, hence the name of the channel. I'm also, because I'm a psychic medium, I can both channel and remote view. These two things are completely different. And if you would like to know how to remote view, I'm offering a PDF for $1.50 Australian. Or if you would like to know how to channel, I'm offering a PDF on how to channel called The Signal Within. And if you wanted both $3, I've given you here my PayPal address and my email address. So I'll leave this up for a few more seconds. And I just want to say I appreciate any and every view. Thank you for being here. Let's get into the commentary. Is chronic loneliness actually a soul signal for those navigating the fifth dimension? What if the loneliness consuming you isn't random? What if the silence around you isn't punishment but preparation? Because right now, millions of people feel disconnected, not just from relationships, from the world itself. Conversations feel hollow. Crowds feel exhausting. Even familiar places can suddenly feel emotionally foreign. And for some people, it feels as though reality itself no longer fits properly. So, in this video, we're exploring a radical possibility. What if chronic loneliness is not simply emotional pain, but a signal that your inner world is changing faster than the environment around you? Not proof of fifth dimension, but perhaps a human attempt to describe profound transformation. The relatable pain. There's a specific kind of loneliness that goes beyond being alone. It's the feeling that nobody quite speaks your language anymore. You can sit in a room full of people, but still feel invisible. You try to explain what's happening inside you, and the words collapse before they reach anyone else. And over time, something strange happens. You stop forcing connection, not because you hate people, but because shallow interactions start feeling emotionally expensive, like eating spiritual cardboard. The evolution of isolation. Traditionally, loneliness has been viewed through a mental health lens, and rightly so. Long-term isolation can deeply affect mood, cognition, physical health, and emotional resilience. Chronic loneliness deserves compassion and support, not romanticizing. But many people also describe isolation as a period of transformation, a shedding, a revaluation of identity. And that's where spiritual language often enters the picture, not necessarily because people are ascending dimensions, but because ordinary language struggles to describe inner change. So terms like awakening, frequency shifts, soul signals, 5D consciousness become metaphors for psychological and emotional evolution. The hollowing of old structures. One reason loneliness feels sharper now is because old structures are changing. In 2026, communities are more fragmented, much interaction is digital. Many people feel emotionally overstimulated, yet relationally starved. And for sensitive people especially, there's a growing fatigue with performative connection. Small talk can feel unbearable. Constant noise becomes draining. You crave something real, but struggle to find it. So isolation begins not only as absence, but as refusal. A refusal to keep participating in interactions that no longer nourish you. The soul signal. Now, let's explore the soul signal idea symbolically rather than literally. What if loneliness sometimes functions like an internal alarm? Not saying you are broken, but saying something in your life no longer aligns with who you are becoming. That doesn't mean you're evolving into a higher species, but it may mean your emotional and psychological needs have changed. And when that happens, old environments can suddenly feel too small for your inner life. The mechanics of frequency mismatch. People often describe this as frequency mismatch. Again, not in scientific vibration sense, but through experiences. You begin feeling out of sync with spaces, habits, conversations, even friendships that once felt natural. And this creates a strange grief because you miss connection while simultaneously feeling unable to tolerate certain forms of it anymore. It's like your nervous system becomes hyper aware of emotional static. Social fatigue and sensory overload. Many isolated people report emotional exhaustion after social interaction, craving silence, feeling overstimulated in a crowded spaces, difficulty maintaining superficial bonds. This doesn't automatically mean spiritual awakening. It can also reflect burnout, anxiety, grief, neurodivergence, emotional sensitivity. But the emotional experience often feels deeply existential, as though your inner world is quietly asking for recalibration. The void as a sacred gateway. Now here's the paradox. The emptiness that feels terrifying can also become transformative, because when life gets quiet enough, you finally hear yourself clearly. Not the role, not the performance, not the social mask. You. And many people describe this stage as a kind of death before renewal. The old identity dissolves before the new one fully forms. That's why loneliness can feel suspended, like floating between two versions of yourself. the great emptiness. Mystics throughout history described periods of profound emptiness, not as punishment, but as clearing, the removal of noise, the dismantling of false structures. And while we should never glorify suffering, there's a truth in the idea that solitude can reveal things distraction cannot. Because in silence, patterns emerge. The outsider feeling. Many deeply isolated people describe feeling like outsiders, as though they're observing reality through glass. Again, this can come from many causes, but emotionally, it often reflects a painful transition. You no longer fully belong to your old life, but you haven't yet built a new one. That liminal state can feel incredibly lonely, yet it's also where reinvention begins. Decoding the homing beacon. Now, let's examine the homing beacon metaphor. What if isolation strips away performance? Without constant social adaptation, your authentic personality becomes clearer. And, ironically, that clarity may eventually attract more compatible people, not because the universe is magically assigning soul tribes, but because authenticity changes how you connect. Symptoms of the signal. People in this phase often notice loss of interest in shallow interaction, intense introspection, craving meaning over entertainment, stronger intuition about relationships, emotional sensitivity, periods of withdrawal, followed by bursts of insight. Again, these are human experiences, not supernatural proof, but they can feel spiritually significant because they alter your relationship with reality itself. Listening to the quiet. One thing isolation does provide is space. And within that space, many people rediscover creativity, intuition, reflection, emotional honesty. The silence becomes less like abandonment and more like a tuning chamber, not for cosmic downloads necessarily, but for deeper self-awareness. Integrating the high-frequency life. So, how do you move forward without becoming trapped in isolation? Because solitude can heal, but too much isolation can also wound. The goal is not to disappear from humanity. It's reconnecting more authentically. Practical grounding. Some grounding practices that genuinely help. Walking outdoors regularly. Creative expression. Meaningful routines. Therapy or support groups. Spiritual practice balanced with reality. Reducing doom scrolling and emotional overload. Seeking fewer but deeper connections. You do not need hundreds of people. Sometimes one real connection changes everything. From passive isolation to active solitude. There's a difference between I am abandoned and I am rebuilding. One drains power, the other restores it. And maybe that's the shift. Loneliness becomes dangerous when it convinces you that you are disconnected from humanity entirely. But solitude becomes transformative when it reconnects you to yourself. Final reflection. So, is chronic loneliness a fifth-dimensional soul signal? Probably not in a literal sense, but it may absolutely be a signal that something inside you needs attention, transformation, honesty, and deeper alignment. And maybe the reason so many people reach for spiritual language is because ordinary language feels too small for the experience. Because loneliness is not just absence. Sometimes it's transition, the space between identities, the silence before reconstruction. Closing. Maybe your emptiness is not proof that you are failing. Maybe it's the space where something more authentic is trying to emerge. Not a cosmic superiority, not an ascension above others. Just a quieter, truer way of being human. And perhaps the real destination was never escaping this world, but learning how to belong in it again, differently. All right, please, if you are going to leave a comment, I ask that you do so respectfully. Are you feeling lonely? Are you feeling overstimulated? Are you searching for deeper connection? I feel you. I get you. I am very isolated. If it wasn't for YouTube, thanks to you guys, I would have gone insane. So thank you. And again, I'll just quickly hold this up as I start to end this. I really do appreciate any and every view. And I appreciate your comments because your comments make me feel heard. And I'd ask that you please be kind to one another and smile at a stranger. You may just save someone else's life. It costs nothing to be kind, costs nothing to smile. And please take care of yourselves because you matter. You are precious. You are here for a reason. And you matter to me. Love, light, and blessings. This is Gemstone saying goodbye.